So, Milber, right lane, coming around the corner. What do you find your pupils struggle with this one then, like going to Milber?
Remembering where the split is and which side of the lane to be. So we do talk about which lines to follow and holding on to those lines, not crossing them and not leaving them, so not straying away from these lines. One thing that I've been doing recently with Penn Inn at the very beginning is saying to them, before we start looking at which lane goes where, just pick a lane, any one you fancy, and follow it. Not actually talking about where that lane goes, just so that they can work out how these sorts of roundabouts work.
Just following the line.
Yeah, just stay in a lane, don't leave that lane, and then see how it spits you out at the other end of the roundabout effectively. So they're less worried about getting in the correct lane and more just thinking about how to follow
this lane. That's really, I've never done that before, I like that.
So obviously at some point we've got to talk about which lane goes where and how you get your way into whichever lane you want to be in, and using the signs and the road markings. But that's still quite a nice way of introducing it, so it takes away a bit of the fear of being in the wrong lane, supposedly. So you turn left up here.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
It's warm in your car, isn't it?
So, yeah.
Summer's day in here. This is an always interesting corner, trying to get them to look through the trees to see if it's clear past here before they enter the road.
I'd seen that car before I came around the corner.
That's a difficult one, I think, for them to... It's a good talking point for looking forwards and further into the road as you're turning into it, but it's still a difficult one.
I think the thing I find is it's noticing that you can't see.
Yeah.
That's the key, is you've got to know
visibility here.
Yeah, it's sort of recognising that you can't see as part of the road, and then being inquisitive about that bit of the road. How am I going to get that information? And I think the issue is when you're first learning is you spot hazards when they come at you, but you don't necessarily recognise that there was a part of the road there that you couldn't see, whether that's like coming out of a junction and you could only see a certain distance down the road, or something like that where there's a blind bend, or a meeting traffic scenario where you can't see far enough into the road. It's like really recognising how far down the road do I need to be able to see to make this decision. I don't know how that's affecting the speed and the position as well. Should we head towards the test centre for this one, I think?
Sure.
So I think this
Why did you just adjust your road position then?
Because I like my tyres.
The many Newton-Abbott potholes.
This one, when you're exiting, is another good example of that. Use the white line to guide you off the road, because I find that people want to stay too far to the right.
How do you find that examiners explain the exit? When they say going across the roundabout second exit, use the right lane for your approach. How do they then explain the way off? What words do you find they use?
I don't know. I'm not saying about enough for that.
I've had a couple of ways. They usually leave it till about halfway around the roundabout, and then they might say on the exit keep right, or sometimes they say on the exit use the right hand lane. So there's different ways, but they all mean the same thing. Once you can see your exit, keep over to the right and use your mirrors to make sure there's nobody else there.
At this point as well, I'm very, particularly at this moment, I'm very aware of the bus potentially cutting the corner just because of his size, but I'm also normally aware of most vehicles cutting that corner because it is quite like an effort to keep over to the left. So
were we going to go towards the test centre on the exit there?
I meant just cut this way. I'm going to.
Oh, did you? I thought you were talking about exiting right.
Yeah. Okay. So, but that's what they would do. Yeah, you're right. And then that's when you would make your way over to that lane, or just keep in that lane is the idea. Yeah. And it's also one actually. And this is where we're going now. Is I'm going to loop around and come back to Penn Inn. But actually, if you miss that and you end up here, it's not the end of the world, because you just stay in this lane and it'll loop around. So
yeah,
all we've done is create yourself a new lane change in a minute.
yeah.
I was thinking we just follow Matt.
There's quite a lot of times, isn't there, on test routes where if you were finding yourself in the wrong lane, you couldn't safely make a lane change.
Yeah.
It's very easy for them to reroute you.
Yeah.
They know where they can do that, and it doesn't cause them any problems.
Yeah, and that's something, particularly when we're talking about Penn Inn, I teach a lot, is that how to stay in that wrong lane if you've chosen the wrong lane. Because I really commit to where you're going.
Yeah.
Basically, it's a little bit like what you were saying about like stick with the lane you're in. When you were saying about practicing that at the start,
Yeah.
It's a bit like that. So once you found yourself in that lane, should we go to Torquay? I'm just thinking that it'll bring us back to Coopentine Head. So yeah, really sticking with that. I suppose like acknowledging you've made the mistake and gone the wrong way, and then stick with where that lane goes. So you're not changing lanes mid-roundabout, which is when we come down to it, because I think this is probably one of the most common ones to get in the wrong lane, is like if you're following signs for Milburn but accidentally end up in that Torquay lane.
Yeah. If you're getting them to do this lane goes to Torquay then, for example,
Yep.
how do you explain to them the split and how to get into the Torquay side instead of the Milburn side?
So I always talk about it as a signpost giving. So all the way through, it's about looking for the information on the signpost. The road markings are just a backup for me. They're like confirmation of the information that I've already should have, because the signpost is here in the distance. So obviously here we're picking up the Torquay signpost and it says that there's lane 3 and 4. Then what I'm getting them to do now is that I should be flicking across the road here to, one, see if there's any traffic, but two, also pick up that it still says lane 3 and 4. So obviously we're in lane 3, so we're going to go for lane 3. So then I'm searching where's lane 3. And now also, again, you talked about staying in your lane. Well, that was my lane. I was still between my white lines, and all that happened was my lane got wider.
Yeah.
And I get to stay left if I'm going for lane 2, or stay right if I'm going into Milburn. So sort of how but you've got to notice that signpost, otherwise you're going into that searching for a road marking that then in 1 second later you need to make a decision. If you've got that signpost, you've seen it, you've just got that information a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
This bit here around here can cause a few problems. People ended up turning right too far. I think they get confused. A lot of people talk to me about getting confused about the lane, the road markings
over there.
Yeah, sort of road markings coming from the other side. I sort of tend to describe them as like the road markings don't tend to go like right across you.
Yeah.
Like, they're not expecting you to do like a 90-degree turn. So it's the one that's like that's with you here. You can like clearly see that I'm just sort of guiding my way around this line, and then it naturally puts you in this position.
We've talked before, haven't we, about it? Once you find the right lines, see that car just swapped over there. Once you've got those lines and you've identified the ones that say to the right of your lane, if you hold on to those like a handrail up a staircase and just stick with them. So again, you're not crossing them or leaving them; they're just always in that same position. And that seems to work quite well, but that doesn't work on its own unless you've seen the road signs.
Yeah, because you don't know which handrail to hold on to. Yeah, because it can be left or the right one. This car's going very slow.
It is, isn't it?
It's quite a good example of why driving too slow is a fault on the test, though, because it's meant that I've had to do a lane change and maybe affect the cars that were overtaking me. Not that was like, but potentially it slows. It means everyone has to go into one lane on a road that's designed to have 2 lanes of traffic. So it slows down the flow of the traffic. You naturally, if you're looking behind, there is quite a queue of cars. Collecting.
If you look in there now, there's no one passing.
pupils with like.
Which bit do you find that they struggle with?
I think just the exit numbers not being quite where they normally are. Like left, there's no left, so ahead is first exit.
What about when they're coming from this direction?
No, they don't seem to be right with that, because they just know they're turning right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just loop round that roundabout a minute and go back there.
Okay.
Because I'll show you what throws my students quite a lot when they're approaching that roundabout. Hopefully there'll be a car coming. We never know.
Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah. I can wait until there's a car. No, there's going to be somebody behind me, and then. Yeah. So
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
It's the people coming from the right.
Yeah.
Who are going to turn second exit left down this road. Their road position is always incorrect, isn't it?
Yes.
So it makes people from this direction not sure where they're going. We've got no one coming, have we? But they come from that exit over there and go straight line it across and then come off second exit.
Don't the video pick that up anyway, because
no,
the camera's not pointing the wrong way.
Yeah, that's where I've had people hesitating quite a lot.
Is put my car, because this car's not going to allow. So the idea is that you want them over here.
Yes, exactly.
Exiting on that left-hand side. Yeah.
So if you're getting them to come this way, then it's how you do that, keeping on the outside of the roundabout.
Yeah.
But then if you're coming that way, it's also trying to look at maybe their speed more than their position, perhaps.
So is that something, if a pupil does make that mistake and go a bit straight on, you turn them back round and then go show them it from the
other angle to see why people are doing that and what else you can pick up on, because they're usually going a lot faster, aren't they? The fact that they're going straight on, if you like.
It's fun up there. Slip road. Well, not short. No, it's not a short slip road, is it? It's a long slip road.
With a short decision time.
Yeah.
It's a bit deceptive, I think, for them. They think this is a nice long one. They get right up to speed.
I find that I have pupils that don't notice it's a slip road as well, which is why this signpost is so important to see that, because almost it feels like you might have your own lane.
Yeah.
Because there's no dotted lines clicking it in. But yeah, at this point there is a big blind spot on my right that I don't know if there's a car there without doing my shoulder check. And obviously I want that information nice and early. Speed wise I was probably doing about 40 into a 50 road, which gives me that, I suppose, 10 miles either way. So if a car's not giving way, I can just drop 10 miles an hour and he's now going way past me. Or if he's holding back a little bit, I can push 10 miles an hour and I'm now driving away from them. Now in this situation here, with all these cars braking for the traffic jam, what I'm actually wary of is somebody doing a last minute lane change, like I don't want to be in that traffic jam sort of panic mode.
There's one
behind us. So people make rash decisions in those sort of scenarios.
This is sort of the danger area for that right now, isn't it? When they've got a make or break time, either stick with it or get out.
So I'm literally driving along, looking at their indicators, waiting for that moment, or even looking in the car. Or even looking in the car if the driver's if you can see the driver, they might be turning their head.
Checking. Do you want to go to Milber from this direction?
Milber, okay.
You can do the Coombe one if you want.
I think I might, just because we did the Coombe. I did the Milber one with Sean, so that video is on there. So for people to watch the Milber one. So I am indicating. Would you get you guys to indicate here?
I don't, to be honest.
It's a debatable one. I think for me, we are turning right. And this lane does go straight on. Whether it needs to be on here or it certainly should be on over there, but here it's not necessarily benefiting anyone at the moment. But it is a right turn at a roundabout, so I probably would.
It's certainly not confusing anyone, is it?
No, not unless I think I'm going down there. Lost my mind. I've seen people do that here. From the other direction. Yeah, but certainly at these next set of traffic lights, it's important to have it on, because you're now in a lane that does two things, so you have to define which one you're doing. And actually, I think if I was going straight on, I'd probably have a left signal on coming off here.
In this lane?
Yeah.
What might the people in that lane think?
They might think we're moving over, but they'd also see that I'm exiting. Oh, he didn't really. Oh, he has. He's done it, but we'll let him off. Yeah, but again, you're in a lane that can go two ways, so you've got to define that you're coming off the roundabout when it's not clear you're coming off the roundabout. Yes, someone might think you're changing lanes, but they can also see the exit ahead of them, so they should see that your signal says you're coming off the roundabout. Like, you could make that argument at somewhere like B&Q roundabout, where you're coming round and you indicate left to say you're coming off. Someone next to you might think you're moving into the left lane. Or probably B&Q's not a great idea. Where Barton roundabout.
Yeah.
That's which one, moving over to the left in that situation. But you know, it might not be actually. If you were exiting Ware Barton roundabout, but decided you were going to stay in the right lane because you had someone to overtake or something, you would still indicate left to say you're exiting the roundabout.
Yes, you certainly would. I must admit, I haven't got people to use their indicators as much as that on that roundabout before. But I think I will from now on.
I suppose there's a slight difference to Ware Barton roundabout in the fact that you're not benefiting the cars coming into the roundabout.
Yeah,
because it's traffic light controlled. But I suppose maybe that car on the left of you would want to know that you're coming off the roundabout with them, because they might be planning what they're going to do on the slip road.
Yeah, they could be thinking about changing lanes.
And I think I'm okay with them potentially thinking that I'm going into their lane, because all that's going to do is make them cautious of me, and that's kind of what I want. I'm saying I'm coming off with you. Be aware that I'm going to be next to you. Particularly there, because a lot of people will try and get into that right lane anyway, don't they? Because it merges further up the road.
They do.
Shall we go to Exeter?
Yeah, why not?
From here, because I'm thinking that's one that causes a lot of confusion about options. It's very nice of him to flash his lights, but I'm not sure braking would have been more beneficial.
See why he wanted you out of the way now.
Ah, yeah.
Doing a Yui.
I see why you wanted to move my mirror. It's weird. Yeah, it is weird being in the car and not knowing what's behind you. But that, in a way, if you think about it like that from our point of view as instructors, how aware we are of what's going on behind like that, almost as aware of what's going on. And it's not about doing particular mirror checks like middle mirror and left mirror signal. We just know what's around us all the time.
Yeah. And
that's where we kind of want our learners to get to.
We talk quite a lot about being constantly nosy.
Yeah.
Be nosy. Be aware of what's going on.
I I do like the nosy one. I've done that before, but I tend to talk in like inquisitive. They're almost like you're a little detective, and you're going around looking for clues of what's going to happen on the road, and you sort of just like constantly like, what's that car going to do, and working it out. But I'm going to shut up and talk about this now. So again, popping my indicator on because we could go to Newton Abbot from here, and this is the bit where most people go into that right lane too early and then have to find themselves cutting back over. So the idea is to stay wide so that you naturally find yourself in this left-hand lane. However, if you do find yourself in that lane, don't panic. Because in a way it's probably easier. It's not the reason why I don't, because it's easier when you come off, because you don't have to then do the slip road. You're just in the lane ready. Yeah, you've already done them. You're already in the correct lane for the dual carriageway, and that's probably what this car next to me is going to do, despite them. But you can see, I don't know what they're going to do because they're not indicating. Like they might turn. There we go. And if they'd have been indicating right, it would have helped as well. So I was guessing. I was playing guessing games, and I don't like playing guessing games when I'm driving. So like a signal from her would have really helped.
Maybe this wasn't such a good idea.
My decisions. So yeah, had you have stayed in that right hand lane, you've already done this bit, so you don't then have to do this merge. This bit catches a lot of people out because they merge too early.
When you do that direction towards Exeter, and you do it with learners in both lanes, do you find that they always prefer the right hand lane?
Do it with learners.
You do that
after you've
roundabout.
exited, you mean?
No, you'd be in the right lane to start with, the right hand lane on your approach.
Yep.
And then you've got two ways round the roundabout. You can either stick close to the roundabout and exit in this right hand lane up the slipway, or you can do what we did and be in the left lane.
Yes.
So once you've shown them both ways and they've practiced that, do they have a preference over which one they use on test?
Yeah, I think they would always go for the right. But then, so and on that particular roundabout, it's not an issue. The reason why I tend to sort of lean towards the left is because there's a lot of roundabouts where you wouldn't get that choice and you have to make that big move over to the left. So I kind of want to help them get used to the idea, and it's awkward, it feels horrible. Like when we do, I'm going to loop round at Ware Barton, and it's a similar sort of problem. It's that drift across is always, like wherever I've been, when I'm teaching Exeter, teaching in Newton, that drift across has always been a thing that learners they're not a fan of. I don't know if it's just because that left side's a bit blind and it's hard to see, or it just feels a bit weird doing that. So yeah, I tend to sort of try and get them to do that one purely because it's not about them being able to do Penn Inn, it's about them being able to do everywhere. Yeah.
I always think it seems like it's the most correct way as well, because if effectively you've got two lanes and the left lane's available, so we should normally be in the left lane.
Yeah.
So I tend to prefer if they can become most comfortable with that lane. If they end up keeping right, it's not the end of the world.
So yeah, when I come around here, it's going to be and I do try and point that out to them. This is like, there's no traffic lights on this roundabout, but the principle is still the same. That the cars on the left of us are disappearing, and then we become that left lane that's then going to disappear at the next exit. So those guys are now going, so I'm checking my mirrors, and then I'm just going to drive into that left lane, and then the indicators come off the roundabout, and then watch out for the guy who's a bit keen on the right.
Interesting. I'm sure he's going to do too much off-roading with that.
It's a little wide. It's so low.
Yeah, you know what I mean. There's not going to be much ground clearance there, is it?
That's weird.
Got like 14-inch wheels on it, slammed.
That's
been there a while, isn't it?
Not a great place to break down, is it? Yeah, so I think best practice is key there. But again, I just point out that if you get the wrong lane, well, I suppose it goes back to that what we were saying earlier about if you get in the wrong lane, go the wrong way. But actually, in this particular case, you get in the wrong lane, and it still happens to go the correct way. So yeah.
I remember going to say something a minute ago about that route to Exeter. I can't remember what it was now.
I'm going to do this route to Newton, but going back towards the supermarket, because I think that causes confusion as whether to signal again on that scenario.
Okay.
Because of the options. So I think if I was in the right-hand lane going to Newton, I wouldn't necessarily signal, because you have to go right there. You can't do anything else, and you're so far over. It's obvious where you're going.
Yeah.
This is another bit actually. The split. So if you know you're going into the right lane at this split, then hug this side, so don't turn it into a lane change effectively. So yeah, looking at the signpost, you've got Newton Abbott's both lanes. Superstore is the middle. So yeah, from this lane, I wouldn't do it yet because it would look like I'm going into that far right hand lane. But now once I'm committed into this lane, I'm going to put my right indicator on, because I'm turning right at the roundabout, again from a lane that can go straight on. And yeah, this car on the right might think that I've decided I want to go in his lane, but so like, they know that I'm turning right at a roundabout. That's what I want. I want them to know that I'm here and aware, and be aware of me, because I'm coming round. In a way, I want them to be thinking about me, because I'm coming around the corner with them. And what if they don't realise that 2 lanes turn? They might then try and drift into my lane.
Yeah.
So in a way, that's a good thing that they're thinking about me.
Okay.
Getting some little toy car revved up.
Getting ready to go.
Don't think we're going for a while yet. I don't really know the sequence of lights here. Maybe we're next.
Yeah. Oh dear. Just messed it up.
So again, you can see I'm in this lane here, straight on and right. So I could go straight on, so my indicator's clarifying that I'm not. It also explains to maybe the car behind me why I'm not going so fast. I deliberately went a bit slower there just to prove that point. But if I was going straight on, I would be accelerating off into that dual carriage, into that slip road.
Yeah.
And I've seen cars like honk their horns there, where a car has braked and turned, and it's because they weren't indicating, because it looked like they're going straight on, and that car's then surprised that they've turned the corner.
I see. I wonder if that's at a different sort of point of the phase of the lights when that would happen, because when we've just been released from there, everyone in our lane had just come off the dual carriageway.
Okay. Yes, maybe.
And so they'd either be going left or right.
Yeah.
The chances of them going straight on at that point is pretty slim, isn't it? But if at a different point you've got people who are in that lane from a different direction,
Yeah.
that might make it
Yeah,
more
maybe
crucial that
maybe
you've got that indicator.
being stopped at those lights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one's part of the way round and other people have caught you
It could
up.
be people going straight on. It's quite easy to have missed those torquay signs and then ended up going down there. I just realised I hardly ever reverse this one. Or here particularly. The driving instructor in here there.
He was a bit
Keen.
keen to go, wasn't he?
I didn't let it affect me though.
Well done. Yeah. No, it's strange. I must admit, you've used a lot more indicators on that roundabout than I tend to use.
It'd be interesting, because I've had this conversation with other instructors, and I think I probably do them more than most. I certainly know that came up in a conversation with instructors around the area, and there was definitely them leaning, a lot more people leaning towards less indicators. It came up in I think a Zoom with the examiners at one point. Certainly that one that we just did, the examiners were very keen for an indicator, because you can go either way.
Yeah.
And that's more the places where I'm thinking about it, it's those, that's the bit, if you've got a choice, you have to define your choice.
Yeah.
And that's the indicator's going to do that for you. Whereas if
I've talked about it the same way, in sort of, if you've got options, make it clear where you're going. But I've tended to do that more if you're coming down from Milborough and Coombe and turning left.
Yeah,
as opposed to going straight on, it's a left indicator. If you're coming from Exeter and you could be going up to Milborough, Coombe, you can go straight on there, so you can put a left indicator on.
That's interesting that you think that, but they're not the same junction, same exit, but for a right turn, because you could be going straight on.
Yeah, no, I see what you mean. I think maybe it's because there's a lane to the right of you, and I'm thinking about, we've often talked about not wanting to confuse with an indicator, and that was perhaps why I've thought about the confusion element. Perhaps I've prioritised the not confusing over the benefit of making clear side of things.
Yeah, I think if there wasn't a left, like if your lane didn't go left, then it would be confusing. Well, it wouldn't be, because you'd be trying to get in that lane, I suppose. That's the thing. It's the other driver's responsibility to realise that that lane next to them comes with.
Also goes with, yeah.
And that's what that car then is indicating for. What interesting, we didn't get to do it. Coming down from here, turning. So you quite often when we come down back to New Abbot, you're in the middle lane, turning left towards Newton Abbot. So if coming from Torquay.
Oh, from Torquay that way.
Yeah, you tend to be in the middle lane because you're normally heading back towards the test centre or town centre.
Yeah.
Do you indicate left there? I'm guessing you're going to say no based on all your previous ones.
No, but then it would go straight on that lane as well, wouldn't it?
So I think I would, and again, yeah, you're right. The cars in the left might think, oh wait a minute, is he coming into my lane? But I want them to be aware of me, because what I don't want them doing is turning and thinking that they can just go into any lane when they get onto, because that splits off into 3 lanes. I want them to know I'm coming around the corner with them, so that they are aware that I'm there and they need to stay in that left lane.
Yeah. Again, I think maybe what I thought about there, and maybe, I'm happy to be persuaded on it, but I'm thinking if we've just been released from the lights that we're actually looking at
Why
now.
would we go straight on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of where all the traffic's coming from, and the fact that those 2 lanes are marked and they go round that way.
Yeah.
So I would think the people in the left lane are expecting us to go that way because of where we just come from. And that's perhaps why I've not prioritised the signal there, because I didn't think it was.
Yeah, I haven't actually considered the fact that you wouldn't necessarily be going straight on from that lane. I think possibly because I have gone straight on from that lane several times with pupils because we're practicing the roundabout or whatever. But that's like more of a driving lesson thing
Than where the traffic tends to
go. Yeah, but then again, it's quite easy for somebody to have missed that lane change and not go over the bridge. Or right now they've been coming down here to avoid the bridge because it's packed.
And they could go straight on.
See if they can try and beat the traffic with doing the roundabout.
I've never done that.
No. Would never dream of it.
Although what we have talked about, I imagine you've done the same, is if you are coming, say, from Exeter and you're following signs for Torquay, and if you neglect to move over to the right lane to go over the flyover, or if it's just really busy and you can't get over, fine, just go down to the roundabout, go straight on, come back up again. So stick with it. So that's another reason why you would come from that direction and yet be going straight on. So someone else could have had the same issue and be doing that.
The other thing I would think of here is, I think you have to remember that we're driving instructors and think about this stuff a bit more than everyone else. And I don't think anyone in that left lane is thinking the cars next to them wouldn't be going straight on because they would have gone over the bridge. I don't think people think that far ahead or that deep into what they're doing when they're driving. So again, it's that big flashing light thing. It that no one can ignore that sort of thing. So if anything, it is I want it to alert people of my presence, basically. So I think I would put an indicator on in those scenarios. It does show how learners must have a nightmare with this. Don't I indicate? Because
we could make arguments either way ourselves.
I sat in a room with 20 instructors and had 20 different answers to this question. So it is debatable. It always comes back to this: how can I best help everyone else on the road? That's the way I'm thinking about it. It's how can I help the other cars around me know what I'm doing? And like I say, without confusing them. But I suppose the argument is, do you think that indicator looks like you're changing lanes, or does it look like you're exiting?
Well, that is something that runs through all of the lessons, isn't it? We talk about that a lot. How can we help everybody? It's sort of like having a bit of a deal with all the other road users about how we can keep ourselves and you safe, and then hopefully they're doing the same thing.
I like that little deal. I like that.
So that way we're telling them with our signal what we're planning on doing, and to give them a bit of a hand. Or if there's a car trying to clear some parked cars, oncoming traffic, so we'll move over a little bit to the left and hope that gets paid back when we're trying to go past some cars. So we're just sort of always moving our speed and our position and our indicators to try and help each other negotiate these roads.
Yeah, and driving would be wonderful if everyone had that same attitude. But that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create a generation of drivers that do that. That's what we aim for. So, and that, yeah, the more people, and actually, the more, it doesn't have to be everyone, I suppose, but the more people that drive like that, the more other people will drive like that as well. Because you're right, it does kind of pay it forward a little bit, doesn't it? Like when someone is courteous to another person, then they tend to be courteous to the next person, and so on. So, yeah, it's a nice way of doing that. It's also quite a nice way of finishing there. So.